The USS Gerald R. Ford might be the most powerful aircraft carrier to ever set sail. Every feature in this towering warship is best in class, from its flight deck and software-controlled electromagnetic catapults to its nuclear plant and countless other attributes. Ford-class carriers are being developed to replace the U.S. Navy's aging Nimitz-class ships. The lead ship of the new class has entered service, and over the next decade, the carriers will replace their Nimitz predecessors on a one-for-one basis. Earlier this year, the U.S. Navy aircraft carrier, USS Gerald R. Ford, completed its first worldwide deployment to the Mediterranean. The lead ship in the Navy's latest class of nuclear-powered aircraft carriers performed well in its extended deployment, launching over 8,000 sorties in response to the Israel-Hamas war. While the carrier's trajectory to sea has not been linear since its production phase due to an array of issues, the ship's unparalleled capabilities make it an essential asset to the service. However, some analysts have argued that the Ford-class hefty price tag and vulnerability to cyber attacks, hypersonic missiles, and other new threats could render the whole supercarrier concept obsolete. Could the Ford class be the last U.S. Navy aircraft carrier class ever built, due to the growing threats posed to aircraft carriers that are so expensive to build? For nearly 5 decades, Nimitz-class carriers have played the leading part in the U.S. military's power projection strategy. The class is superior to its predecessors in many categories, from its top speed to its formidable endurance. The Nimitz-class can launch aircraft to strike targets hundreds of miles away, but it is limited in its ability to accommodate new technologies. The Navy developed the Ford class specifically to incorporate future capabilities. The lead ship of the class, the Gerald R. Ford, designed and built as the first carrier in the Ford class, the Gerald R. Ford aircraft carrier bears the name of the 38th President of the United States. On February 25, 2011, a ceremony marked the first steel cut for the USS Gerald R. Ford aircraft carrier. The shipbuilding process at Newport News Shipbuilding, the sole designer and builder of aircraft carriers in the United States, followed a modular approach. Various sections and components of the ship were built separately and then assembled. The USS Gerald R. Ford was officially commissioned on July 22, 2017, in an elaborate ceremony in Norfolk, Virginia. The USS John F. Kennedy, CVN-79, the second ship of the class, is expected to enter service next year, followed by the USS Enterprise, CVN-80, USS Doris Miller, CVN-81, and others. Each carrier in this class will measure 1,092 feet in length, with a beam length of 134 feet. The flight deck on each ship will measure 256 feet wide. The Ford class allows new technologies to take sail. It was designed to feature the electromagnetic aircraft launch system, the ship's self-defense system, and an advanced arresting gear. With these new systems in place, the Ford ships can launch 160 sorties a day. Nimitz-class carriers can only launch 140 per day. Ford carriers are designed with a weight and stability allowance that will accommodate the added weight of new systems installed over the vessel's half-century service lives. The advanced weapons elevators aboard each carrier use new technologies, like electromagnetic motors and hydraulic systems. Fewer sailors are needed to move ordnance safely with unmatched speed and agility. In terms of armaments and air power, the Ford class also stands out from its near peers. Each ship in this series will be equipped with the Raytheon-evolved Sea Sparrow missile and close-in weapon system. Among the 90 airframes that can be positioned on each carrier are these standouts: the F-35 Lightning II, FA-18EF, Super Hornet, EA-18G Growler electronic attack aircraft, and E-2D Advanced Hawkeye. A number of unmanned air and combat vehicles will join them. The USS Gerald R. Ford's successful first deployment is a massive step for the Navy's new carrier class. As geopolitical tensions continue to escalate, America's large fleet of top-notch carriers will undoubtedly prove to be a significant and necessary asset. In total, the carrier spent 239 days at sea, with 3 extensions to its deployment because of the Hamas attacks on Israel and the Houthis strikes against shipping in the Red Sea. conducted 43 replenishments at sea, conducted 10 396 aircraft sorties, and sailed almost 85,000 miles. Throughout our time in the Mediterranean, the ship and crew both performed remarkably. Our sailors breathed life into the ship's advanced technologies to demonstrate the extraordinary capabilities Ford-class carriers will provide to future generations, Captain Rick Burgess, the commanding officer of the aircraft carrier, said as the carrier strike group was finishing its deployment. The flat top carried FA-18 Super Hornet fighter jets, EA-18G Growler electronic warfare aircraft, MH-60R Seahawk helicopters, E-2D Hawkeye airborne warning aircraft, and C-2A Greyhound transport aircraft. At the height of our readiness and proficiency, we were called to the Eastern Med and proved to be the right ship at the right time to answer our nation's calling. The Gerald R. Ford is everything our nation hoped it would be, and more, the carrier's skipper added. The USS Gerald R. Ford can pack more than 75 fighter jets, transport aircraft, and helicopters. In terms of performance, the nuclear-powered ship can reach speeds of over 30 nautical knots, about 35 miles per hour, and can operate for 25 years non-stop before its nuclear reactor requires maintenance. However, all this performance and new technology doesn't come cheap. The USS Gerald R. Ford cost the American taxpayer $13 billion. Although the cost per ship is expected to fall with the subsequent vessels of the class, the cost will still be hefty. In conclusion, the USS Gerald R. Ford is hailed as the most powerful aircraft carrier ever to sail in the U.S. Navy. With best-in-class features, from its flight deck to its software-controlled electromagnetic catapults and nuclear reactor, the ship offers unparalleled capabilities. However, there are concerns about its high cost and vulnerabilities to new threats like cyber attacks and hypersonic missiles, leading some analysts to question the relevance of this supercarrier concept. The Ford class promises superior future capabilities, introducing new technologies like the electromagnetic aircraft launch system, ship self-defense system, and advanced arresting gear. These ships are designed to accommodate various new technologies over their half-century service lives. Despite its expensive construction, the USS Gerald R. Ford has proven itself during its successful maiden deployment in the Mediterranean. With its remarkable capabilities and advanced technology, the Ford class is expected to be a significant asset to the U.S. Navy in the future, although questions about relevance and cost remain subjects of debate.